When I asked my daughter about her wedding date, she smiled and said, "We got married yesterday. Only special people knew." My chest ached, but my voice stayed calm, years of endurance shaping every word. Quietly, I pulled the phone from my pocket and began a step she never saw coming. That was only the beginning of this storm. Before I begin the story, tell me, where are you listening from today? The morning had begun with the kind of ordinary rhythm I had grown to rely on. The rain tapped a gentle pattern against the porch roof, and the coffee maker hummed, filling my kitchen with a familiar aroma. I smoothed the counter twice with a cloth, straightened the mug beside me, and glanced at the calendar where I had penciled in dress fitting weeks ago, with a breath meant to steady myself. I dialed my daughter, hoping to hear joy in her voice, perhaps even a date that I could circle and look forward to. "Hi, honey," I said gently. "Just checking in. Do you have the wedding date yet? I'd like to book the salon. Maybe order some flowers." There was a pause on the line, long enough for me to hear dishes clink somewhere behind her. Then her words arrived, flat but sharp. "We got married yesterday. Only special people knew." My breath caught. The silence in my house seemed louder than the ticking clock on the wall. I steadied my voice. "Yesterday, yes," she replied quickly. "We wanted something simple. Just the people who mattered." The phone felt heavy in my hand. I pressed it tighter against my ear as though pressure might change the meaning of her words. "I'm your mother," I whispered, calm but pointed. "If I'm not special enough, what am I?" She gave a small laugh, a sound that was half dismissal, half deflection. "It was our choice. Mom, you'd have hated the fuss." I closed my eyes and held my tone steady. "Don't confuse my quiet with agreement," I told her. I ended the call and set the receiver on the table. The house stretched around me like a hollow museum, each object a reminder of years I had given. The saying floated through my mind, respect doesn't retire when we do. It either shows up or it exposes who never had it. Later that morning, I opened my tablet. The algorithm knew before I did. Photos slid across the screen in polished frames of celebration, my daughter in ivory lace, her arm linked with Oren's, the creeds flanking them like proud guardians. Champagne glasses sparkled. Captions declared, "Family is everything." I leaned closer, scanning the crowd, searching for my chair, my face, my presence. Nothing. A friend from church had commented, "So happy for your girl." Her words stung more than she intended. I whispered to the screen, "Family is everything. As long as you're standing behind the velvet rope." The coffee I had left on the counter tasted bitter when I sipped it. The rain, once a comfort, now echoed like applause for a performance I hadn't been invited to. Each photo was a line drawn without me, each smile a reminder that my place had been erased. I closed the tablet, set it aside, and turned to the suit hanging in the closet. The fabric waited, pressed and ready, but I would not pull it down. I measured my breath instead. I would not beg. I would not pay my way back into a picture already framed without me. Older folks like me often say, "Measure twice, cut once." Today, I wasn't measuring fabric, I was measuring people. I rinsed the mug, wiped the counter clean once more, and placed the phone face down. I would not text. I would not plead. I would not ask for the story they had chosen to write without me. My silence, I realized, could become a strategy, not a surrender. When you stop paying for your seat, I thought, you find out whether there was ever a seat for you. The phone lit up 1 week after the wedding revelation, her name glowing on the screen. I didn't answer. Instead, I let the call sink into voicemail. Later, after folding laundry and rinsing the teacup from breakfast, I pressed play. Her voice carried no warmth, only urgency. "Mom, the rent is due. We're short. Can you help?" There was no please. There was only a deadline. I replayed the message twice older folks do, that when they want to be sure they aren't imagining things. Behind her words, I heard laughter, clinking dishes, proof she wasn't alone, yet the request landed squarely at my feet. A chill pressed into me. Love had been absent, but the invoice had arrived right on time. I thought, when apology is absent but the invoice shows up, you're not family, you're an account. I dialed her back, but on my terms. Hi, Isolde, I heard your message. I skipped the small talk. She jumped straight to numbers, exact rent, late fees. The total like she was reading from a bill collector's sheet. I listened, steady. What changed since last month? What's the plan for the next one? Silence. Then vague words delays, unexpected expenses. A whisper floated through the line. Oren's voice. Just ask her. She always comes through. My hand tightened, but I kept my voice even. If you can't say what went wrong, you can't say you're fixing it. She bristled, muttered something about me being harsh. I let the silence hold. When the call ended, I walked down the hall and opened the closet. There hung the navy crepe dress, its tag still dangling like a flag of surrender I hadn't chosen. My fingers traced the reinforced seam, the hem I'd had tailored for a day that never came. I thought of the florist number scribbled on a note, the appointment I'd canceled to stay flexible. I slid the untouched receipt into an envelope marked wedding. I whispered to the empty fabric, some things fit you until the truth changes your size. Closing the door. I let the fabric keep its silence, the kind that tells you hope isn't always a friend. Hope is a beautiful fabric, but you shouldn't wear it where you are not invited. The phone rang again that evening. This time I picked up. Her voice carried irritation. We're not asking for a handout. Mom, just a bridge. Dad would have wanted you to. That jab was meant to pierce, and it did. But grief used as leverage is a trick I recognized. I steadied myself. If we're talking bridges, we start with plans, not planks. She mumbled that Oren was between contracts. I asked plainly. And what is Oren's plan for next month? Her silence was answer enough. I let it hang. Guilt is a poor accountant. It always rounds up your debt and down your dignity. That night, I sat at the table with my ledger open, rows of neat entries staring back. Gas cards, groceries, deposits, all marked under the same heading just this once. Pattern spoke louder than any excuse. I capped the pen after writing one line. No new money without a new story. I didn't need to send her a text. My spine had written the message already. I brewed mint tea and let its calm remind me sometimes the most generous thing you can give is a clear no. I picked up the phone on purpose this time. No waiting, no letting her words sit on voicemail. I chose the moment. Steadying myself as the drizzle tapped against the kitchen window. Isolde, I began, my voice calm. I heard your message about rent. I didn't ask how she was or comment on the weather. I asked only 2 questions. What changed? And what's your plan for next month? The silence stretched, broken finally by her familiar deflection. It's just a bridge. Mom, I took a breath and let the sentence I'd been carrying harden in the air. Didn't I warn you already? I only help special people. I said it once. Clean and direct. Her voice sharpened, but I ended the call without raising mine. A boundary doesn't need decoration. A boundary is a complete sentence. Explanations are how we talk ourselves out of it. After the call, I laid the ledger flat on the kitchen table. Receipts in tidy stacks, categories written in my hand rent. Groceries, utilities, emergencies. I totaled each one, the numbers forming a story clearer than words ever could. $30,000. Beneath it, in red ink, I wrote a single word, wasted. My hand didn't shake. I circled the dates that always followed celebrations, holidays, social posts of trips, announcements I'd learned secondhand, promises of just once repeated 3 times. Promises repeated are not promises at all. They are strategies. I slipped a sticky note onto the cover. No new money without a new story and a plan. Memory fades with love, but math does not. Math is mercy for memory. It keeps love from erasing the truth. Later, I walked to the corner grocery for stamps and mint tea. On the sidewalk, a woman from church spotted me. I saw the photos. Your daughter's wedding looked beautiful. My chest tightened for a step, but I steadied myself. It did look lovely, I said with a small nod. I didn't offer details. Dignity doesn't file a complaint, she went on cheerfully. Such a blessing when family is close. I let her words drift past me like a bus I had no reason to catch. Inside, I bought what I came for, my hands busy with small tasks while my heart rehearsed standing tall. When a stranger tells your story, tell less and live more. Back at home, I opened my banking app. The cursor blinked, waiting for me to cross my own line. I didn't. Instead, I typed into my notes, "No funds today. Send plan, not plea." I pinned it where I would see it tomorrow. The ledger sat beside the phone, a quiet witness to choices made. I slid the dress receipt back into its envelope marked wedding and placed it in the closet, not with sorrow, but with decision. Evening fell, the drizzle turned steady, and my porch camera lit with a figure in a suit carrying a folio. I didn't rise to answer. Peace is not empty. It is furnished with decisions you don't renegotiate at midnight. The knock came polite. 3 even taps against the door frame, but my porch camera had already told me the story. Oren stood there with rain beading on his jacket, and beside him, a man in a pressed suit holding a leather folio. When I opened the door, the stranger smiled like he had rehearsed it. Oren cleared his throat. "This is Darian Creel, our attorney." The word "our" fell heavy, as though my doormat had turned into their territory. I led them into the living room. Not the kitchen. The kitchen is where I feed people, not where I hand over power. Darian set the folio down on my coffee table, straightened the papers with slow precision, and spoke in a voice polished to a shine. A simple power of attorney. He said, "Temporary." "Really? Just for your peace of mind?" His hand rested on the papers like he was selling me insurance. I folded mine in my lap and let the silence do the work. People eager to fill a quiet room often reveal more than they intend. When someone brings urgency to your doorstep, lock the clock and open your eyes. Darian began his pitch with the kind of words lawyers use to disguise intent. "We're concerned about financial confusion at this age," he said smoothly. "This will protect you." That phrase "at this age" was his whole argument, wrapped in a tie. He flipped through the document, pointing at clauses. "It allows your daughter and her husband to act on your behalf, manage bills, medical, rent." Oren chimed in with false gentleness. "We don't want stress for you. Marceline, just sign and let us carry the load." I leaned forward. What accounts? What limits? Who checks the balances? Darian's words blurred into filler. Standard, routine, common. None of those were numbers. A pen slid toward me. I let it rest there, untouched. I scanned the headings myself, tracing a clause that handed over broad authority. No cap, no oversight, no expiration date. If a signature solves everything, it probably hands everything to someone else. Just then, my phone buzzed on the side table. Isolde's name lit the screen. 1 ring, 2, then a text, "Mom. This is for your own good." Darian smiled, as if the timing proved his case. "See, everyone is aligned." I pressed the side button, silencing the phone. Another message pinged, Oren's eyes flicking down as if my privacy belonged to him. I turned the phone face down, stood, and walked to the hall table. 1 tap, do not disturb. No fuss, no explanation. When I came back, I spoke evenly. "No one who excludes me from a wedding will be invited into my accounts." The room chilled. I didn't raise my voice. Silence carried the weight. Silence is a tool when the other side only respects volume. I picked up the top page broad power of attorney in bold letters. Instead of passing it back, I tore it clean down the center. The rip echoed louder than their polished lines. I looked Darian square in the eye. "Family doesn't erase me from their wedding. Parasites do," Oren sputtered, his face red, words stumbling about legal options. I stood and pointed not to the pen, but to the door. My house. My rules. The rest of the stack slid into the trash can by the table. Paper can be reprinted. Respect cannot. They left in a hurry, rain swallowing their retreat. My phone buzzed once more before I blocked the number. No more interruptions. The drizzle tapped against the window again. Steady, like the house had exhaled with me. I dialed my own attorney and set an appointment for the morning. This time, the paperwork would be mine? A no, delivered once and clearly, is cheaper than a lifetime of explanations. The rain hadn't let up all day, streaking my porch light into a pale halo when the knock came. This one was different, firm, even with an authority behind it. I opened the door to a young officer in a navy jacket, badge catching the glow. "Senior Services Welfare Check," he said, polite but careful. His words carried a script. "We received a call expressing concern about your well-being. Ma'am?" He didn't say who called. That silence was its own answer. I stood tall, spine straight against the frame, and nodded once. "Come in." I didn't step back, only aside my home, my terms. His eyes swept the living room, pausing at the tidy surfaces, the ledger stacked neatly on the table. Nothing to hide, nothing to apologize for. I moved slowly, deliberate in my pace, fetching the kettle. Older folks like me know the unspoken rule: offer coffee or tea, and you show you're the host. Not the patient. Dignity is a door frame. You stand tall in it, or you shrink to fit someone else's story. He began his questions with care, each word rehearsed. Are you taking medications? Do you have someone assisting with daily tasks? How do you manage your finances? He kept his tone neutral, but the weight of assumption pressed through. Then he unfolded a page from his file, sliding it across like it was evidence. The statement read, "Possible confusion in managing finances." At the bottom, signed by Darian Creel. My pulse slowed instead of quickened. Planted doubt only grows if you water it. "Is this sworn?" I asked, my voice even. "Who verified this?" He shifted, admitting it was an opinion, not sworn testimony. The wording told me everything concerns raised by family, without a name attached. I smiled, steady. I pay my bills on time. My doctor clears me every 6 months. "You'd like copies?" His pen hesitated. Suspicion is cheap. Proof costs effort. Only one deserves rent in my house. I walked to the side table and lifted the ledger, laying it open beside my checkbook. Balanced columns, clipped receipts, everything in order. On the front page, my rule written clear: no new money without a new story. He flipped through the pages, saw the dates, the notations, the signatures. I said nothing more. Sometimes silence is the sharpest witness. His pen stilled altogether. Paper doesn't argue, it just stands there until the truth reads itself. I asked for his card, then took down the time, the date, and wrote in my own hand, "Referral by attorney with conflict of interest." I looked him in the eye. "Please note that I requested full documentation of who raised these concerns. Transparency protects us both." His shoulders eased, the formality shifting into something closer to respect. "Thank you for your cooperation," he said. I nodded. "And thank you for professionalism. Respect, not apology, that was the exchange." As he stepped back into the drizzle, I slid the folded Creel note into an envelope marked "Evidence." The war wasn't in my living room, it would be in offices and hearings where paper outlasts performance. But tonight, my home remained my own. A trap only works if you step where they expect you to. I don't walk those paths anymore. At Garrick Lauren's long oak conference table, I sat with the binder spread before me. Every page had its place bank statements, transfer slips, text screenshots where the word urgent came more often than thank you. Garrick walked me through the order. "We'll start with clean dates, then show the overlaps," he said. His tone was calm, steadying. I practiced the rhythm he wanted: answer once, answer plain, stop talking. The paper would do the heavy lifting. My job was to let it walk into the record. Older Americans have a saying, "Put it in writing," or "it didn't happen." Today I had proof, and it had shoes on. When your facts wear good shoes, they walk themselves into the record. On the courthouse steps, the drizzle had eased, leaving the air cool and sharp. Cressida Marlowe was waiting, a thermos of mint tea in her hand. She didn't tell me what to do. She only said, "I'll be here when you come out." That sentence gave me a railing to hold. We shared a small laugh about stiff benches and stiff backs. Both knowing age teaches patience in odd places. She slipped me a note folded twice. Inside, in her hand, "You are telling the truth. The truth can stand still." I tucked it beside my glasses case, where I knew I would find it when I needed steady ground. Gratitude is different when it comes without a bill attached. borrow courage from those who lend it without an interest rate. Inside the courtroom, Darian Creel looked polished, as if the drizzle had been staged for his entrance. His smile was thin, almost kind. He opened by framing me as a declining parent and my daughter as a child acting in concern. Then came his witness list. I heard the names like Barb's Clive Dornan, my neighbor who hardly waved, and Alaric Keene, the pharmacist who rang up my prescriptions without small talk. Creel's language was rehearsed episodes of confusion, refusal to accept assistance. Every comma was an accusation. Garrick rose, voice firm, requesting timestamps and foundation. The judge nodded, expression unreadable. I breathed deep, the weight of my ledger in my tote anchoring me against the spin. When people sell concern by the pound, weigh the motive, not the label. Clive spoke first, muttering about forgetfulness and raised voices. Garrick asked for dates, pressed for visits, none lined up with my doorbell logs. The binder opened smoothly. Tabs marked the receipts that matched every text stamped with pleas for rent after weekends of public celebration. My answers were simple. Yes, I paid those bills. No, I did not authorize access. Yes, I refused to sign a power of attorney without limits. The judge's pen paused at 2 points the total amount I had given, and the repeated promise, "We'll pay you back next month," echoed across months of screenshots. Creel shifted. Requesting temporary guardianship, Garrick countered for a continuance, demanding full cross-examination. The gavel tapped once, not final, but enough. If truth is a blade, precision is the handle that lets you hold it. As we filed out, I felt the hall air heavier than the courtroom. Alaric Keene stood by the wall, his eyes on the floor before meeting mine. His look said more than any oath he knew the story he had signed did not match the story he had seen. In the hallway, Alaric Keene shifted from one foot to the other like a man with a stone in his shoe. His eyes flicked up, then away, then back to mine. "Mrs. Duval," he murmured. I didn't fully understand what I signed. Creel told me it was routine, something about insurance. His voice trembled. I kept mine steady. "If you want to correct the record, now is the time." Garrick stepped closer, asking if Alaric would testify again, this time with pharmacy logs. Alaric nodded, palms damp, admitting Isolde had pressed him, even fed him leading questions. Older folks like me know if someone's trying to hand you the truth. Don't make them shout over your pride. A clean correction beats a dirty defense every day of the week. Back inside, Garrick recalled Alaric. Under oath. He spoke clear. "She buys vitamins, aspirin sometimes. No prescriptions for confusion. No notes of decline." Creel tried to shake him, suggesting memory lapses. But Alaric pulled out printed logs dates, cashier initials, even register IDs. The judge leaned forward. The transcript caught the line sharp as glass. No prescriptions consistent with cognitive decline. Garrick moved to strike earlier inferences. The judge granted it, cautioning Creel about foundation. I sat still, hands folded, letting the record repair itself. The truth doesn't need a louder voice, just a microphone that works. Then came Clive Dornan again, called back like a bad echo. He repeated his story about my shouting at odd hours and camera paranoia. Garrick rose with 2 exhibits. My doorbell logs blank on the nights Clive swore he heard me, and an HOA email where Clive begged for parking favors from Isolde. The judge asked him to clarify which dates he meant. Silence spread, thicker than the carpet. His face blanched. Garrick requested impeachment for bias. The judge warned him of perjury. Creel pivoted away, but the damage was done. I didn't gloat. Some lies collapse under their own weight. When a lie needs a calendar to stand, it's already sitting down. Garrick asked if I could make a financial statement limited to my support history. The judge allowed 1 minute. I stood, holding a photocopy of the last check I had ever written to my daughter. Across the top, in my own handwriting, no further advances without plan and respect. My voice didn't rise. "This is the last check you'll ever cash in my name." Silence filled the room. I added the facts, separate accounts, auto transfers canceled, POA refused. Oren muttered abandonment. Isolde's exhale sounded like a hiss, but the record wrote it differently. Decision. A firm boundary is a quiet door. It closes without slamming. Then the aisle shifted. Harlan Creed stood, voice carrying steady. We won't stand behind what you did to your mother. Sylvette Creed followed, unclasping a corsage pin, letting it fall to the bench. You traded love for leverage, not with us. They told the court they thought I had chosen not to attend the wedding. Today they saw the truth. Isolde sputtered about misunderstanding. Oren whispered excuses. None landed. The courtroom itself became a mirror, reflecting their trick back on them. When the crowd finally sees the trick, the magician is just a person, holding a scarf. The judge closed by denying guardianship, setting a full evidentiary day, and ordering financial disclosures from both sides. Garrick squeezed my shoulder once. No words needed. Outside, my phone buzzed with a fraud alert. Creel's mutter reached my ears as he leaned toward Isolde. If we can't win with concern, we'll win with crisis. The fraud alert lit up my phone before I even set my purse down. Someone had tried to move money out of an account I'd already sealed weeks ago. The nickname attached to the request was one Garrick and I had created deliberately, a decoy we'd planted for this very moment. I smiled, not because it was funny, but because it proved my caution was not paranoia. It was preparation. I called the bank's fraud line, froze all external transfers, and asked for a same-day appointment with their security desk. Next, I filed a police report. Not because I was rattled, but because peace needs paperwork. I forwarded everything to Garrick with a single line. Add this to today's record. My posture became a sentence I repeated to myself. My capacity is shown by preparation, not panic. Trust is a door you lock from the inside when the knocking sounds like demand. By early afternoon, we were back in court. Garrick presented the affidavit from the bank's security team, the attempted transfer traced to Oren's profile, timed within minutes of Creel's whispered threat in the hallway. The exhibit was clean and damning. Darian tried to argue misunderstanding. Suggesting I must have forgotten to close access, the judge leaned forward. Mrs. Duval, when did you revoke this permission weeks ago? I answered calmly. For exactly this reason. The gavel didn't fall, but the silence did. Garrick moved to dismiss the petition with prejudice. Creel asked to withdraw. The judge granted it, warning against manufactured emergencies. Isolde's eyes stayed on the table. Oren muttered about just needing help, but nobody believed it. A plan is what you bring into the room. A crisis is what you bring when you don't have one. In the hall. Consequences began their slow walk. Harlan Creed folded his arms. The loan I promised, it's canceled. Sylvette unpinned a brooch, placing it in Isolde's palm. You didn't want a mother. You wanted a vault. Their words traveled faster than any judgment. That evening, my inbox held an email from the landlord, no more cosign requests. I archived it after replying that all future contact goes through counsel. A contractor texted asking if Oren was still good for Friday. I replied, please contact him directly. Accountability isn't revenge. Accountability is the bill arriving at the right address. Back home, I changed the locks. The click of the new deadbolt felt like punctuation. I finalized my living trust, removed discretionary access for Isolde and Oren, and added a charitable line for seniors' legal aid. If my struggle could fund someone else's defense, that was math worth doing. A small camera went up by the garden gate, linked straight to me in the non-emergency line. I slid my ledger back into its drawer. That book had been my compass when love tried to blur the map. Security is not a mood. It's a habit repeated until fear gets bored. Evening light stretched across my hydrangeas as I set up an easel on the canvas. I painted an open chair with a place card bearing my own name. Cressida dropped by with lemon bars, inviting me to a community gallery. I said yes without checking anyone else's calendar. Later, I brewed mint tea and whispered to the night, I only help special people who show up. This time, I showed up for myself. Freedom is when your future stops asking your past for permission.